Appreciate Norma Linda joining us on the Bloomberg Equities team. All right, let's get a professional in here now and talk about how you think about these markets after the volatility that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. But if you went on vacation 2 weeks ago and came back now, you didn't really miss much at the end of the day, which is also kind of crazy. Shana Sissel joins us. She's president and CEO of Banríon Capital Management, and she joins us now. Shana, isn't that funny? 2 weeks ago, it's like it never happened. I mean, that kind of rebound in the S&P is quite striking. How does that set you up now for the next couple months?
I always say the best thing we can do for clients sometimes is maybe take away their password to their brokerage accounts so they're not checking it every day, because if they didn't, they would sleep a lot better at night for that exact reason. The market has short memory these days because we have so much information out there in the 24-hour news cycle. But I think the volatility, Professor Siegel was on another network earlier this week, taking back everything he said when the panic set in. And if the professionals that, investors look to for guidance are inclined to panic, I think that says a lot about kind of the overall sentiment and psychology of the market right now. So it doesn't surprise me that, as information became available, people stopped freaking out about the yen carry trade. But it doesn't change the fact that we are in a slowing economy. We've had good data, and so I think people feel confident the Fed is definitely going to cut 25 basis points in September. And I think that if you are a long-term investor, that there's some opportunities when people freak out like that to take advantage of, the psychology of the market and buy things at a discount.
Shana, Jackson Hole next week. What are you looking for from Jay Powell? What can he say that can either reinforce the view that we're going to get a 25, if not a 50 basis point cut, or could he even kind of throw a wrench into things and maybe push that further out again?
I can't imagine where he's going to throw a wrench in things. I do think that 50 basis points is a stretch. There's not enough data that suggests that we need to do a larger than expected cut. And I think the Fed is cautious to not do something so abrupt and significant that it would upset the overall market. Sentiment, as I've noted a couple of times, does matter. And I expect that he will continue the same narrative that he's had for quite some time, which is that the economy is stable. It's doing okay. The data shows that it's slowing down and softening, but not of concern, and it supports a 25 basis point cut. And I think that's what he'll continue to say. I've watched him long enough now to know that he's not one to very quickly change his tone. And the last time he was out speaking, he was, not necessarily overly dovish, and I don't expect him to suddenly become overly dovish.
Which, to be fair, most other Fed presidents aren't either. So there's that as well. So we're kind of wrapping up the earnings season. We got some retail that's trickling out. Obviously, NVIDIA is going to be a big event at the end of August. But what stocks do you like after we're kind of past the real hump of earnings season, headed into an election cycle where policy will be very unclear?
Yeah, so I have kind of a wide variety of different types of stocks that I like. I like a name like Atlas Holdings, which is a commercial insurance firm. I followed it for a while since my days at Ariel, and it's a really interesting company with a really unique niche that is trading at a discount and has some relatively attractive upside. Pretty boring. It's in financials, so people. It's not sexy like NVIDIA or any of the AI plays. VRT is an AI play, but it's a second derivative of traditional AI. It's data center cooling, which is really important because in this growing AI demand and more people looking to incorporate it, you need greater computing power, and thus you need a lot stronger or a lot more powerful cooling systems, of which VRT can bring to the table. I also like Novartis, which is a healthcare company, so I'm a little all over the place. I'm happy to go down any one of those roads for you. But I am trying to find ideas outside of what has been the hot trend, because you want to get into other areas when you start to see dispersion of returns, which we have seen a little bit of, and you want to take advantage of opportunities to be a stock picker.
So, yeah, I guess kind of when you look at how you're playing AI, you mentioned Vertiv. I covered them when they went public through a SPAC. So you're looking at kind of these derivative plays when you're thinking about implementation of artificial intelligence and who can be the winners or losers?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm someone who's followed and loved NVIDIA and been talking about NVIDIA now for years. And it has served me well. I've made a lot of money for clients and in that stock. And I'm still very much bullish on the stock. I think the trends are very favorable for the long term, and we're still very early in the AI cycle. That said, I don't think it can maintain the growth rate that it's had going forward. Now, 100% growth is still really impressive, but when you were at 300% growth, it feels a little disappointing. And so I'm trying to find other ideas that will benefit from AI. Vertiv is one of them. I've talked a little bit about Cisco in the past, and I know they're all in the news with the announcement of their layoffs. But that's another player that has some second derivative exposure in AI as well, and trading very cheaply and obviously making some unattractive or unpopular decisions internally. But typically those decisions are made to improve overall financial performance. So that's another name, but it's not on my buy list. But it isn't another like second derivative play. Yeah. And that's kind of what you have to look at this point.
Hey, Shana, really appreciate it. That's such a great point about Cisco. Shana Sissel joining us. She's president and CEO of Banríon Capital Management, joining us there. So just a quick check here. So those of you who follow the show know that Paul likes to rib Bailey on his outfit choices because he does the bro vests, and he has like a whole closet full of bro vests.
Occasionally, I dabble.
But now there's no bro vest. It's a suit jacket, just for those of you listening on radio and not YouTube. So I'm confused.
I had to be professional.
It's a bro vest opportunity.
I guess so. Maybe next time.
Okay.
When I'm filling it.
All right. We're going to go through all that. All right. Sam Fazeli, Bloomberg Intelligence, will be joining us next on the MPOX and sort of how to defeat that. This is Bloomberg.